Alright, let's go.
Welcome to another edition of the Double D Show!
We don't even know what's Double D yet.
It's either Double D or D&D.
Oh.
Or D squared.
What are we going to talk about for the first few minutes after we come up with a name? We got to come up with a name so you don't start coming up with new ideas.
But I love my new ideas.
Alright, let's get into some fun facts. Well, first of all, thanks for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for tuning in.
This is our morning show, and we enjoy it, so we hope you enjoy it as well.
Yes, we hope so.
Fun facts, you want to go?
My fun fact is I'm clumsy.
Very clumsy.
With everything. I trip and I shouldn't be falling over. I spill things on myself all the time. What else do I do?
Oh, it's quite a sight to see.
I drop things, I break things.
We were actually at a run. We were at a run with Louise. We went to a 5K with her for her first 5K, event run. And Dorothy were running down the road, and Dorothy like falls off the side of the concrete, like stumbling, like go, go. And I was like, oh my God, she's going down.
I thought for sure I was going down. It's not like graceful either.
You know what was great too is Dorothy didn't like breaks, like she was talking.
Of course.
So if talking was his stride, she didn't break stride talking.
Yeah. I just kept going.
Like right in the middle.
I thought I was going down. I was whoa. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm going down. I didn't think I'd catch myself on that one.
You did good. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's pretty fantastic. Nice. My fun fact is jars.
Lots of
So,
jars.
I love jars. I don't like plastic in particular, but I don't know why I like jars. Like I drink water out of them. I think the convenience, because you can just put a lid on it. If you're drinking water.
Just likes to be different.
I like to be different. I don't like glasses. And I feel like it's so wasteful. Why do you need like a whole kitchen full of different sized glasses? And I'm just like, well, 2 different sized jars, one a little bit bigger for a bigger smoothie and the other smaller for water. Or I do have these for tea, but anyways, maybe it's not so fun, but it's a little different. I go out and people are like, what do you got in there, moonshine? And I'm like, I haven't heard that one before.
Let's try.
Alright, so let's move on. What do we got going on today?
Well, today we're going to talk about refined sugar. Drew's going to give us a little explanation why it's something that we should stay away from and clean out of our diet. And then I'm going to give some tips and some suggestions on how you can replace the refined sugar from baking and some other things.
Are we going to review the week as well?
We can do that too. Am I getting ahead of myself?
No, I was just asking. We'll just give them a little review.
Sure. So this weekend is...
No, I mean after the video.
Oh my God.
During the video. You know how we go blank. You know how we do
He loses me sometimes. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Each week we do a recap or summarize.
Are we doing that at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Refined sugar. Go.
Oh boy, this is non-stop. All right, refined sugar. Refined sugar is in everything. It's in absolutely everything. And if you want to break it down, it's really, it's a drug with any way you look at it. So it's detrimental to our health. It's highly addictive. What happens when we put refined sugar in our body is it actually weakens our bones because we take the minerals out. It actually takes the minerals from our bones, weakening them. And then there's all kinds of things like we have teeth issues, of course, and it's not just our teeth are bones, but it's actually making our physical bones brittle, which is incredibly shocking to me because we're allowed to put sugar in everything because it's in everything, and it's addictive. And it's crazy how the industry works and what it's allowed to do and what we consume. So for someone to put more sugar into their diet, more refined sugar in different ways, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. It's something that we should be staying away from and be conscious of, because most things that we package foods, all kinds of sugar. We'll get into different types of sugar, but like we have sugar, we have natural sugars in fruits, for example. Like we have enough sugar in our diet. So I walked by the coffee stand the other day, and it was like, why is there little sugar packets next to coffee? We're gonna have sugar in everything, so stop putting sugar. And that's just the very basics of how addictive it is. And then if you want to flip it around, and someone was gonna say, I'm gonna cut all the sugar out of my diet, that's also, I wouldn't recommend that either. Just because we're addicted to sugar, that's just how it is, just how we are, because we have sugar is in everything. So if you take it out of our body completely, if we try like a fast or a detox, then we're going to be like, our body is going to go into a certain amount of shock, and we put more stress on our body by cutting everything out. So if you want to make a real change and a real sustainable change, you'll slowly cut out refined sugar from your diet.
And you'll find too, one of the biggest benefits from staying away from refined sugar is energy level. Your energy level will increase, and is it true? It stores, right? Is that true?
What does?
Like when you have refined sugar in your diet, it's going to store?
Stores body fat.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go. I just misstored.
What stores?
What stores?
Yeah, you know what happens is when we put substances in our body that our body doesn't know how to utilize, recognize, absorb, can't burn it off as energy, our body puts fat cells around it. So because it's protecting it, our body is this huge defense mechanism. So that's another reason why we should stay away from refined sugar, because it helps us store body fat.
And so that's where all your energy would be going. Is that true? Or is everyone just like
everyone understands it differently.
Okay.
But that is a good point, because like energy-wise, we're always talking about, I want more energy, or how can we have more energy? I lack energy. And if we have a spike in our blood sugar level, then we're going to have more energy. But if there's an unnatural spike, then there's always a crash. So if you want to avoid those ups and downs, those artificial, like, you know, we have Red Bull, we have different types of coffee, like caffeine. Those things there's going to be crashes anytime there's an artificial way to increase our energy levels.
Those 2 p.m., 3 p.m. energy crashes. Yeah.
So let's get into some details about alternatives to refined sugar.
Sure. So most often in baking recipes, you'll find refined sugar. 2 cups of sugar, or, you know, white refined sugar, brown sugar. So it's very, I guess, once you get into using alternatives, it's very easy to substitute and to make adjustments. But for me, let me explain. Let me explain. So, for instance, replacements for refined sugar. Let's talk about that first. So, some more natural replacements could be maple syrup. So a nice, what do I want to say? Like pure natural maple syrup. Okay, because we have like Aunt Jemima's maple syrup. Like, don't, that's not maple syrup. Anyway, so a nice pure maple syrup. Honey is a nice alternative to refined sugar for a sweetener.
Try to find local honey. It'll also help with your immune system.
And then there's also some pure forms of sugar you could look into as well. Coconut sugar, cane sugar, raw sugar, palm sugar. Like there's tons of those as well. We use coconut sugar in our kombucha making. Other than that, I use mostly maple syrup in baking, and honey as well. Sometimes I just find the maple syrup more convenient when I'm baking. That's why I kind of choose that route for baking. So if you're using a maple syrup or a honey, a liquid form of a sweetener in baking, you'll want to reduce that by half. So if the recipe says 1 cup of sugar, you'll want to put a half a cup of maple syrup. It is going to be a bit sweeter because it's all natural. Nothing's going to be extracted from it sweetness wise. And then it's liquid. So you'll want to reduce it a bit so your liquid doesn't get too much.
And you will have to experiment with it a little bit. I mean, anytime we move to healthier cooking, healthier lifestyle, preparing foods differently, you have to give yourself an adjustment. There needs to be an adjustment period, because I think sometimes when we say, I'm going to prepare a stir fry without soy sauce, well, I mean, it's not going to turn out exactly how you expect it to, because you're used to an artificial flavoring that brings on all kinds of toxins into our body. And that's the same difference when we go to baking, when you're talking about substituting sugars. I think sometimes when we see a recipe and we're like, oh, I can make that healthy, and you take the refined sugar out and you add something else, and it could be different flour as well, it's not always going to turn out the first time perfectly.
Yeah, and you have to expect that it is going to taste different, right? So it will take you some time to adjust to that taste as well. But one more progressive or natural step to that is to do half and half. Like if the recipe calls for, you know, a cup of refined sugar, do half a cup of refined sugar in there, and then a quarter cup of maple syrup, or, you know, play with that as well, and gradually go to 100%.
And that's the same thing with flours, right? So if it's 100% gluten-free, let's say you want to try some gluten-free baking, don't just do gluten-free flour that you're not used to. You can do half and half, and then slowly transition that, you know, maybe white flour out, or whatever you're using.
And that's a good point too, because especially with flour, because gluten-free flours can be very tricky to work with, except for CTP. Never had an issue with Complete Truth Protein for gluten-free flour, but
Dorothy wouldn't let me put my pumpkin out for display. It's not true. Mine was different. It was different. Outside the box.
Because he doesn't follow the rules. I like follow along with the teacher. And
exactly. That's exactly what the teachers look like.
And Drew's like, whatever she says, I'm doing the opposite. She said a short rose. Drew's is like this tall.
Well, everyone else was that short, so I was like, I have to be different somehow.
Anyway, back to Thanksgiving and this week.
Yeah, anyways, so festive, what was I was getting at? Festive, we have pumpkins here, over here we have more pumpkins. There's a good chance you're going to be watching this at a different time of year, but we always want to give you some good quality information, like the sugar. We're going to do a product and or a tip each video, each morning video, to get you going on the right direction. And then for our monthly membership group, we're also going to tell you more about the week in advance.
Right.
So. Yeah. Given that it's Canadian Thanksgiving,
yes,
we have turkey coming up this week.
We do, yes.
And then nutrition and meal plans and fitness programs. You know, those are more straightforward of what we're doing in that regard. So tell us a bit about what's going on with our turkey, if you're a turkey eater, and if we have lots of leftovers going on this week.
So when I designed the meal plan for the week, I took that into account, that we would have lots of turkey leftovers. So that is going to be one of your lunch leftover meals. But then I threw in all kinds of turkey recipes so you can use up those leftovers. So we have a turkey soup, we have a quinoa, spinach, turkey casserole, turkey sandwich, because who doesn't love a leftover turkey sandwich, right?
You know when I mentioned, when you were talking about the soup, remember Dorothy and I went to this restaurant we actually particularly enjoyed, and we always look at the vegan options or the vegetarian options, and one of them said, what did it say?
It said veggie soup with chicken broth. And Drew's like, look at this! What is this?
How is that a vegan option with chicken broth?
Veggie soup with chicken broth.
So I think we laugh at that every time we go.
Every time we go back there, I'm like, look, it's still there.
But there's so many benefits from homemade soup, and using those leftovers. And there's so much to take home. There's we usually have this giant turkey, and then there's so many leftovers we don't know what to do with them. So that's why in the meal plan, whether you're using the meal plan or if you're not, I mean, there's so many options that Dorothy offers in this week to use them up, and you know, you can freeze them.
And we do also want it to be the meal plan to fit into your lifestyle, and we also want you to find it, I don't know how to say this, like worth your money or economically suitable as well. So if you have all these leftovers, well, let's use that instead of going out and buying new food.
Yeah, or throwing it away.
Yeah.
May as well use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going on this week with the meal plan. And so that was our sugar talk. That was it. And we want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Hopefully, whenever you're listening to this, wherever you're at, hope you have happy holidays and enjoy your time with family. And looking forward to a new fantastic week and pushing forward and living healthy lifestyles.
Yes, ditto to that. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Good.